we should be all right. As you say, there's loads of speeches. Yesterday was a nice explosive day, so I think we're probably a lot of the excitement's done.
I think so. I don't.
Mad day, actually, wasn't it? In the end.
The what? Sorry.
Mad day in the end.
Yeah, it was. I think I probably put these blokes into a losing trade.
It's rare, mate. It's rare. You've done well.
Well,
weren't you selling the euro?
Sorry?
Weren't you selling the euro?
No, I had a 30-minute buy on the euro.
Oh, you did?
Bigger term. I mean, I closed it before I got into trouble, but how do you manage this for these people? 30-minute trades, too hard.
Yeah, I agree. It is tricky. Well, I had an interesting day yesterday. I had a bit of tail chasing, but it worked out really well in the end, because obviously we were looking for longs, weren't we? Do you remember in the morning? I've got my chart up here. You guys on YouTube can see this as well. Market was down at this level, and I was looking for a long here, and I ended up taking it. And obviously the market dipped a little bit lower, and I actually got a really nice price down here again, and it was off the back of a 5-minute trend, which was this one here. Nice 5-minute trend. In actual fact, it wasn't that. It was even better than that. It wasn't this one. It was this. Even though that one was good too. It was this. So since we broke out there, I was buying up here, and got a lovely run to the upside. I have to say I didn't get all of it, because as soon as it started approaching these pivots, I was thinking, probably about done. And actually, price wasn't too. I took profit around about where we are now, not too far away from where we are now. But it went up another 30 pips, So it was even more to make out of it. I think the market is a tricky one now, because we've got when we look at this on a clean chart, what are you seeing here? We got this kind of like huge bang to the downside, huge fall to the downside, and then yesterday's bar was a fascinating bar in a lot of ways, because the gap, and then the push to the downside, then ending up pretty bullish, but it ended up on resistance, this point here, and that's reacting. But when we come down to the 4-hour chart, look at the picture here. The morning star, really strong morning star, break of this level of resistance, and really a hold at this point. So now if we bring in the pivots, then what we see is the market being held up by pivots. So technically, what do you do here, mate? Are we looking for the short because the daily chart has hit that level of resistance, or are we looking for the long because the 4-hour and the pivots are kind of like likely to hold this one up? And I have to say, yeah, go on. What would your answer be?
Yeah, it looks really bullish to me, I've got to say.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my answer was going to be that I just can't have any interest in it until I get a little bit of clarity. And what I'd quite like is for the market to come and touch this trend line up here, and then look for the short around about the weekly pivot, because I'm still interested in the short as it goes, but I don't see enough to suggest that. Well, you're coming down to the shorter term timeframes to get a pinpoint accurate entry off on a daily chart, off a daily chart. The daily chart's giving me direction, and I want this shorter term time frame for a little bit of pinpoint accuracy. I don't see the ability to get anything pinpoint here. I'd see a little bit of confusion in this point from my perspective, and I'd quite like to see the market just get itself up. In fact, I'm with you. Bullish on the short term, isn't it? So maybe sort of like coming up to the weekly pivot, then having a look to see if there's some weakness, and then seeing if there's a potential trade to the downside. It may well just hold here, though. The 15-minute chart is actually giving us a little bullish setup as well when we look at this. When we look at this level down, this little line here. This tends to be a fairly that tends to be a fairly bullish signal, the kind of breakout of that little channel. So I would look for the market to kind of get a boost from this particular point here to the upside. But I think it's a little bit difficult to play, mate. And I think because my longer term bias is maybe for the downside, I'm not going to play the upside. I'm going to sit this one out. But you know, the other thing is, I suppose you've got the pivot, the monthly pivot up here, and we're only 3 days from the end of the month, which also makes things a bit tricky.
And we've got 3 heavyweights speaking today as well. Could be very, very volatile.
Yeah, it could be a volatile session. So maybe one to sit out. You know, and this is the thing. You know, everything when I say sit it out, it's all kind of it's all open to change. Yesterday I was looking to sit out, and then all of a sudden we got some great moves, and I was able to trade, and to be fair, made some pretty good money off the back of yesterday. Looking at the market going to the upside. This fascinates me too. The pound versus the dollar. All of a sudden starts to look in trouble. In my opinion, we got we got this daily chart. Looks like we had a little pattern that was being formed here. And when we look at this on a 4-hour chart, you can see it a lot clearer, I think, which looks to me difficult to to know what to call the pattern in some respects, but definite head and shoulders that seems to be playing out there. A break to the downside. I think there's probably some
Indians, mate. That's what I see.
You've got 3 little Indians. Yeah, yes. You've got 3 little Indians. Okay, you can show me that in a moment.
They called that yesterday, actually.
You called this yesterday, did you?
Yep.
Okay, great. So we got this as a potential for a measurement of this movement, which is going to leave us somewhere. Looks like down to these lows, and that's just the measurement of the yeah. It looks like we're going to be testing this this area over here. When we look at this on a daily chart, looks like we're going to be testing this area, maybe even a little bit lower down to the 1 spot 22.87-ish, 1 spot 82 22.90. I'd be looking for that that head and shoulders pattern to play out. But the most concerning thing I think is the broader picture of the breakdown of this trend line here, because that gives us a different pattern, and that gives us that will give us another measured move. That could be what we're looking at for that particular pattern, and if that has genuinely broken down, that's going to suggest the measured move is going to come all the way down to the bottom end of the channel, which leads us quite significantly lower than the head and shoulders patterns measured move, and that's going to bring us down to this area. And actually, I quite like both of them as areas that could be held up. So could be you know, if people are still interested in seeing if they can play Brexit positively, I suspect trading around about the 1 spot 22.85. 1 spot 82, 1 spot 22.90 would be one area that we could look for the buy. And as the market falls a little bit further, maybe the 1 spot 21.60 would be another area that I'd be looking for a long. So that's the way I'm reading this, mate. The euro also broke down. The last one that I wouldn't mind mentioning is gold, which I thought was another pretty fascinating move because of the pattern that we called on Monday, which was the again head and shoulders pattern. You know, we said this live on the YouTube on the free show, and this was a really good one. I really like this head and shoulders because there are lines within lines with this one. There's a little trend line that is within the head and shoulders pattern, really telling us where that right shoulder was going to peak.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're just looking for the lower high, and this is a daily chart, so you're looking for lower high on the hourly. As soon as it starts to break down and we get the breakdown and return here, this bar gives you the green light to go, and bang, and it goes. So there was a lot to like about the setup on the on gold yesterday, and obviously most of the driving forces yesterday was to do with impeachment. The fact that they haven't really kind of got a lot of meat to go on. I don't know if you heard in what was going on yesterday, but those papers were released, and they're not going to get him on that. I wouldn't have thought so. The market started to react fairly positively because you know, then it could start focusing on what else is going on, and actually there's some okay kind of rhetoric about trade with China coming back and saying that they are going to be buying more pork, and no doubt that the next tranche of buying maybe some soybean as well. So
Trumpy's saying that there may be a deal quicker than you think.
Yeah, there you go.
Another famous quote.
Yeah, you
He's
go.
trying to manipulate something there.
Yeah, so he's he's all over the positivity right now to do whatever he needs to do for the stock market. Yeah, yeah, absolute distraction. Yeah, because Biden is his big rival, and he's obviously not got him. Whether the Ukrainian president's going to help him out or did help him out, that's yet to be seen. But it doesn't look like he's got more lives than Garfield or any other famous cat I can think of, but he's Top Cat more lives than Top Cat, yeah. So I don't see them getting him this time, but who knows? But anyway, the market also agrees with that. They don't see them getting him this time, and that's where we're at. But interesting first 5 minutes on the market, mate. We've had basically zero movement, but it still looks like this channel is playing out. Hasn't quite touched the monthly pivot. Still going to be short-term bullish, but I'm going to sit this one out until I get some more clarity, because really, I'm a bear.
Fair enough. That sounds very much like me yesterday on the euro. I was a bear, but I tried to take a long to the weekly pivot to get my price. And it went.
I kind of like that trade, mate. I have to say. I mean, I know you mean it's one of those that goes against you, but I quite like the counter trend trade to set you up for the one that you really want. So I quite like that as a position.
Yeah, it was there. When I do that, I'm very cautious around the entry, and if I don't get the acceleration that I want, I generally do a couple of things that I'll show you just now. And those of you who were in the show yesterday, unfortunately, aren't privy to how I manage these trades, and may well have, if you followed me yesterday on the euro dollar, taken a loss. And I'm sorry for that, if that is the case, but here's how it worked for me. We looked at a false break, pardon me, of this little trend line here, or a little trade line as I call them. And it was very, very clear: break, consolidate, re-entry, retest of the trade line. And that's always going to be an entry there for me, especially when I've got pivots above me that in the weekly pivots case are untested. So what we were trying to do is get a first take profit before the daily pivot, and then look for a signal that told us we were going to continue short, or go to the weekly pivot, take our full profit in this area, and then definitely look for a short. Didn't pan out that way, but here's the thing, and I suppose if you're going to be following any 30-minute trade or less, I don't really trade less than that, but sometimes on a 15-minute chart. What I'll do, when we got entered on this bar here, but we hung around for the best part of an hour, and we didn't get TP1 in that time frame. So what I did, as soon as I saw this hover in this vicinity, I just moved my stop to entry, and I got taken out, obviously, but the worst case scenario would have been had you, pardon me, kept your stop loss here and got it hit. I think it was a 10 pip stop loss or something like that. So that's the thing for me. If I'm trading with momentum, so not counter trend, I suppose, then I'll generally tend to let this go a little bit longer. But generally it doesn't take long, and that's the whole key to the exercise. What we're looking for here is acceleration, and that's what these levels are. They're acceleration points. And when you don't get the acceleration, then something else is going on, in my humble opinion. So generally what I will do is I'll either just close it, whether I'm a couple of pips up, a couple of pips down, or if I'm a few pips up, I'll just move my stop to entry and leave the rest to the market. And the market spoke. And the market spoke very clearly that this bearish momentum was to be continued. And pardon me, that was, of course, my bias, but I could see this higher low here yesterday as well. And that was what convinced me to attempt to trade this long. So where are we now? Well, guess what? We've still got a double bottom, and we've still got a higher low. That's all. There is nothing more to be said than that until this double bottom is actually cancelled or broken, if you like. So we've still got exactly the same picture, except to say that we have now broken down this former range. So that adds a bearish nature to this, but I'm not going to trade here short until we get a decent retracement. Maybe the daily pivot's it. I'm not sure, but I don't want to trade short here. It's not the place to trade short. The place to trade short from is up here, and I didn't manage to do that. Sadly, because, as I say, my bias has been for, I don't know how long I've been banging on about that candle on the monthly chart, but or the weekly chart's more obvious. I don't know how long I've been banging on about that, but to me, that was the key. And the retest here. So I still think this will fall, and I think it will fall down to 107.79 in the first instance. So if you're on board, I think you're on a winner. We will see. If I do get a decent retracement, maybe a false break of this trade line or something like that, I may be able yet to find a way in. But at this point in time, I'm lacking that. Speaking of lacking, this is the Aussie yen trade that I entered. Was it yesterday or the day before? I can't remember. I would have traded that bar there. So it was yesterday, yes. As you can see, we are bang on the entry level, and we've been there for about 36 hours. Now, this is a different scenario because it is on a day. I'm trading on a daily chart to start with, so you know, little pips are not really what I'm looking for. But I'm certainly not looking for what I've got here, and I've got low test, high test, spinning top, another one underway. It's not a market I really want to be involved in, to be fair. So I've got a choice here. I can just close it where it is, or I can wait for it to pan out. My choice is probably just to close it, and if it goes, it goes. If not, then, you know, do you really want to hang around here for 2.5 days? I don't. It's not the way I trade. So yes, it's still there technically, but really price is giving me the indication that it could go 50-50 here either way. We're bang in the middle of two pivots, the weekly pivot and the monthly pivot. So again, and the daily pivot is bang where we are. No surprise there, because we've been there for 4 days. So what I am going to do is close this trade at entry. As I said, exactly as I did with the euro yesterday. And that is all she wrote. So bang and close, done. So another break-even trade. That is not what I was looking for, of course, but neither is what I'm seeing in front of me right now. So Aussie yen's closed. Don't have a trade in the market at the moment. So let's talk about the pound from my point of view.
Break-even sounds all right to me, mate.
Yeah, look, disappointing, mate. I thought, and it still could go, Aussie yen, but at this point in time, it's just hanging around. So I don't want to be there. I want to wait for something better. And I think the pound is probably it at the moment. I said all week, not all week, from Tuesday, I said, I'm going to leave the pound alone because I wasn't really sure what would happen when the proroguing, which never really happened. Did you know that? There was no prorogue. There was no, it didn't actually happen.
Yeah, so I know.
It will go down in history as a non-event. And believe it or not, you know, just another twist in the tail of what happens in the British Parliament in the last 3 years. I can't believe it. But anyway, they're just wiping the slate clean and say, no, there was no prorogue. So therefore we can't, and Labor, as I understand it, are saying, no, we can't have a vote or a motion of no confidence in the Prime Minister because, well, it didn't really happen at the end of the day.
No, that's right. Well, do you know what? I mean, the thing is, even it's such an odd situation, you know. I tell you the strangest thing about all this is that Boris Johnson is still incredibly popular, according to the polls anyway, within the country. You know, it doesn't. There's certain people. It doesn't matter what they do. They just manage to kind of dust it off and survive. Donald Trump may well end up being one of those. I don't know, because I don't know what the situation is in America.
So far so good.
Yeah, it's all right for him right now, isn't it? But certainly, you know, Boris Johnson seems to be one of those characters. that just doesn't things just don't affect him. Just so it's quite incredible, really.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah,
What do they say? Their hide is as thick as leather, or right?
yeah, yeah. Well, it certainly seems to be because and I don't know. He was calling them out. He was saying, call a vote of no confidence. Even you guys, the smaller parties, call a vote of no confidence. He's gagging for a general election. But the more he tries to get it, the less likely it's to happen, because he's shown his hand, and the opposition parties just aren't buying it. They're saying, yep, you can have a general election, but only after you request an extension from the EU. And he said he's not willing to do that. In actual fact, what he said was, because he's legally obliged to ask for an extension. And what he actually said was, I can legally get around the 31st of October, the date, and still leave on the 31st. But the two of them don't really work, because if he's not allowed to leave without a deal on the 31st. That legally he has to ask for an extension, but he seems to think he can do it. So it'd be fascinating to see how that one turns out, that one ends up.
Indeed. I think the market has spoken, though, and the market has said, look, we're not prepared to back the pound against the dollar, well, against anything anymore.
Yeah.
For the time being anyway. And that's a massive statement there yesterday on the daily chart, telling me that there are sellers ready to jump back into this. And I think I'm going to be one of them. I'm not sure it's going to be clear cut as to which one, because they're all the same. Well, very, very much the same. The three little lineages I spoke about before, pardon me. Go away. Hang on 2 seconds. The three little Indians. Now, they're probably clearer on the daily chart. And I can give you plenty of examples of this when, in particular, pound US dollar, it does it very well. When it's on its way down, it gives and throws up quite a few of these. I'm looking for my pen, and I thought I was on a different platform, but let me try the right tools. Let's go with ruby red dress. So when we've got a range, if you like, and that's very inaccurate, and we've got a false break here, we've got a false break here, and we've got a false break here. That's the three little Indians as far as I'm concerned. Even if it's not by the textbook, that's what I'm happy to call the three little Indians. Then we've broken down the bottom of that range. We've come back and tested not only the bottom of the range, but also the top of the range. That is a clear signal to me, these three false breaks, that the next break or a subsequent break is going to be to the short side. So I see this often. There's probably another one here. Higher, high, higher, high, higher, high. False break, false break, false break, bang. And I'm seeing pretty much that exact same thing here. I know it's a lot tighter, but on the smaller time frames, we've got a range here. And I called this yesterday or the day before. That's what I was seeing. And I was very, very comfortable with trading the short if I got an entry. Now the entry comes from once we come back inside the range and get a lower high. On the 4-hour chart, I don't know if we actually got that, but if we did, I missed it. On the daily chart here, it's very clear that you've got a lower high here. On the daily chart here, it's very clear that you've got a lower high here. If you miss that one, then there's the one there. If you miss that one, there's another one there. Same here. And these are the trades that are cool. Once they break the range, come back and retest it. Just look for anything you can to get in. Same here. Once you've broken the range and come back to retest it, just look for a way in. I think these are really, really cool places to trade. Best, of course, when you're at the top of a market or you are starting to trend. That's why this one's a little trickier, because it's actually on the way up, and you'd probably be looking for something like false break, false break, going the opposite direction at that point. So this one's a little bit tricky, but it's definitely there, and I hope that you guys can see that and understand why I think what I think. I mean, you don't have to; it's not compulsory. But I just thought I'd share that with you anyway. Undo. Clear all drawings. There you go. That's better. So that's what I see on the pound, and that's why I'm particularly bearish at the moment. As I said, a little bit out of context, but it is still in my memory bank. So as soon as I see an opportunity to trade short the pound, that's exactly what I will do. Now, going back to what I just said, we've broken the range. Look for a retest of that range, then look for a short will be my MO. So I'm not thinking short right now. Rather, I'm thinking, let's come back to here and then start looking for shorts. If we don't get it there, then let it come right back to here and then start looking for shorts. So that's where I'm at on pound. That's versus the dollar. Euro pound is very, very messy. And now it seems that it's going to be a bit of a race to the bottom. So I think I want to leave this one alone for now. Pound Kiwi. Kiwi is very interesting today. It's put on a fair bit of gusto for whatever reason. There was, I know, an interest rate announcement that was not, there was no move in interest rates on the Kiwi. Was that yesterday? Yesterday, I think.
Yeah.
And I didn't read the statement, so I really don't know what the upshot of that was, but the market seems to have accepted that very, very well today. And you would be, again, excused for leaving this one alone. But again, you've got a break of, there's really no consolidation here that's obvious, but it's a clear break of this trend line or trade line, if you like. So again, I'll be looking for a retest here and then looking to trade short, maybe off that trend line. There's a nice confluence here with the daily pivot. If that were to be the case, I'd be very, very interested. Pound yen, same. I don't want to trade short here, but if we can just get back up to resistance, you can see we put in again 3 little Indians, 1, 2, 3. There might even be 4 there. We've come back down, broke the consolidation area, back, retested it, bang, same. Beautiful way to trade if you can find the top of these, and the 3 little Indians are a very good indicator, in my humble opinion. So put that in your little black book if you don't have it there already. Tough for me to get in from here. As I said, I really need to see this come back to resistance, maybe the break of this consolidation area in concert with the trend line, break it back below it, come underneath the trend line and daily pivot, and away we go. And finally, pound Aussie. This one's the best of them. And the reason it's the best of them is because it's come back into a range. Again, 3 little Indians, 1, 2, 3, lower, high, bang, lower, high, bang. Then we've come and had a decent rally. We were looking at this a few weeks ago, saying that the cyclicity here was beautiful. Higher, high, higher, low, high, 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 low, blah, 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 blah. That's still the case. But in the bigger picture, if you go to something like the weekly chart, you're going to see that those 3 little Indians are still there, pardon me, and we've had a decent retracement we've had a decent reversal on that, and now a decent retracement on the reversal, if you like. We're at a resistance level. We've got a beautiful little confluence area going on here. Gee, I'd like to see a setup here. That would really get me interested. So I'm looking on the 4-hour chart minimum, and maybe I've already missed it. Maybe we've had the, pardon me, the lower highs that we need, and I'm not really sure how to trade this now. I'll look for something. I'd like another retracement, really, on the 4-hour chart in this vicinity, and then look for a short. But it's there, and I think this is the best of the lot. I'm going to be looking at this on all time frames. This is a mess right now, I know. So I'll actually move that, and we'll probably have something down here. So I'll be looking for potentially break, retest, take out these lows, and look to trade it short from there. Alternatives, if we do get another rally, go away. If we do get another rally, there may well be something through here that we can play as a false break. So up to here, break it, false underneath the daily pivot, weekly pivot, trend line confluence, bang, go for the short. So there you go, mate. I'm a pound bear. I've closed my Aussie yen trades. I explained the euro dollar, both break-even trades on those. A little bit disappointing, but maybe there's something there on the pound pairs today.
Okay, mate. All right, sounds good. Well, I'm going to shoot off. I've got to go to a meeting that I've got to get to in a little while. So just to kind of finish up with the FTSE has rallied fairly nicely, actually, and I suspect it's going to continue to do so. It's had a really nice little takeoff so far this morning. Anybody like trying to find some direction? Definitely, you're looking for the long, and I think you're looking for the long right up until the US session. But then after the US session kicks in, start sharpening your eyes to see if there's a short, and it's going to be somewhere around about that weekly pivot, in my opinion. So that's what I see. It actually looks pretty clean now, doesn't it? When you sort of like look at this pattern.
It looked very clean to me as soon as I saw it.
Yeah.
My first impression was, okay, that's bullish.
Yeah. So bullish probably to this point here, and then we'll see what happens.
Well, you need, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's my target there. That's the target that I want to try and get before
that's exactly what I was looking for yesterday, on the euro.
Right. Yeah. Would have been good actually.
Short here.
I will look for a short. What I probably could have done was look for the long. I have to say, one of the reasons that I'm a little bit reticent is that with 3 days to go before the end of the month, I don't like sort of risking the profit. And because I've got profit in the bank, I like my P&L to show positive, at the end of every month, and I don't like trades to carry over if I can help it. So that's one of the reasons I get a little bit reticent towards the end of the month when things are good. So there's no guarantee, even when it gets here, that I'll trade it. I'll have a look at it and I'll quickly eyeball it, and if it looks pretty good, I'll take it on. If it looks a bit 50-50, well, if it looks kind of maybe even 70-30 in my favor, I still may not take it on, but that is going to be the target that I'll aim for. Only got today, tomorrow and Friday tomorrow and Monday to get through, and then I can start again. So we'll see. It's purely a personal thing that I don't usually like putting my account into any kind of risk of having to carry over into the next month. But as I say, it's a personal thing, and it's not suggesting anybody else needs to do that. If you want to take trades, there are definitely trades there that are available, and a pretty good time to trade as well. The end of the month, the last week. So that's where it's at.
I reckon on Monday we'll see the FTSE down around about 71.50, and it'll come off 7,300. And Ash will be in a beautiful trade.
Oh, that'd be lovely. That'd be lovely. Let's see how we get on with that. All right, dude. I will see you on Monday. Same trade time, same trade channel. Have a great weekend.
And what time's that?
So I'll see you Monday at 5 to 8.
5 to 8. You beauty. That's a date. Don't be late. Have a great weekend, everyone.
You too, mate. See you later.